Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So this next film that I get to talk about, that I actually got to interview a team. It wasn't just one person, but it's a film called Best and Most Beautiful Things. And you really need to see this film for so many reasons, if nothing else than just to meet the protagonist Michelle Smith and find out a little bit more about her life, her journey, and some of her insights and the wisdom and the things that she brings to the table. And so sadly I wasn't able to interview the director Garrett for this, but we were joined by a whole team of people. We had Jeff in the room, Ariana in the room, Jordan in the room, and of course Michelle was there as well. You're going to fall in love with Michelle without a doubt. I think pretty much everyone is, and those who haven't met her yet are soon to fall in love with her. I guarantee it. And we talk a lot about, I'm not really sure if there was a theme to this interview, but without a doubt, this interview is. I mean, we talk about cats and about different things like that, but really, what this interview was about for me was about relationship. It was about trust. It was about authenticity. It was about being. What it means to be you, and the energy in the room and the excitement and the passion was palpable. And so I think you're going to not only really enjoy this interview with this team of marvelous, committed, passionate people, but you're also going to love this film. So check it out, Best and Most Beautiful Things. And don't forget to check out davidpecklive.com for more information about my speaking and about the work I do as a social change consultant. And of course, my new hot book, Real Change is Incremental, flying off the digital shelves. And wait for it, Best and Most Beautiful Things. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We are joined by another very special group of people here today, and you're going to get to know them, I hope, a little bit more intimately, as I already have, and I've only known these guys for all of about 3 minutes. And I'm going to let them all introduce themselves. We're going to be talking about the film Best and Most Beautiful Things. I'm going to say really quickly, a beautiful film. A touching film, compelling on so many levels, and we're going to find out maybe why that is the case. Michelle, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, my name is Michelle Smith. I am the subject of the film, and I hope that not only can it be, touching and beautiful, I hope that it can also maybe make you laugh at certain parts, and maybe even make you angry at certain parts, because not everyone is nice and warm and fuzzy in the film. There are a couple of not so nice people, but I think that we kick their butts, so figuratively speaking.
Well, you always have to have a villain in every
yes.
movie. I'm Jeff Consiglio. I'm one of the producers and the editor of the film. Been involved for about 3 years of the 6 years that this film has been in gestation.
I'm Jordan Salvatoriello. I'm one of the cinematographers, and I'm also one of the producers, and I had the pleasure of meeting Michelle many years ago. I think I was one of our director, Garrett Zavidas' first teammates. Came on about 5 years ago, and started out by filming Michelle's senior prom at Perkins School for the Blind in Watertown, Mass, and I was hooked after that.
And my name is Ariana Garfinkel. I'm also one of the producers of the film, and we're just extremely happy to be here at Hot Docs with Michelle, and wanted to give a quick shout out to our director who couldn't be here today, Garrett.
Where the hell is he?
Yeah, sadly, Garrett Zavidas, who sends his love, and our executive producers, Kevin Bright and Claudia Bright.
He's either on a plane right now or bartending a crazy party.
I hope he's at the latter. So this film, I'm assuming not many people have seen it yet, because it's not quite out there in a big way, which I'm hoping it's going to be very soon. Tell us and our listeners a little bit. I mean, it's a pretty nuanced film. It's pretty layered. It's obviously about your story, but it's about so much more than that, Michelle. There's a lot going on in this film, a lot more going on than meets the eye, it seems to me.
Well, we filmed for years. I mean, they did all the hard work. I just ran around and ran my mouth a lot. So a lot of that, there being so much this 90 minutes packs, quite a punch. I think it has to go out to all, all our editors and directors and producers and all those cool people. But I know for me, one of the things that kept me always so excited about the film, other than the fact that I like being filmed, I'm kind of a ham, and a camera hog. A ham and a hog. Wow, look at that.
So you're a little bit of a performer then, is what you're saying?
I am, and I love to perform. I've never really dealt with stage fright ever since I could sing, which was before I could walk. I've been on stage, at family events and, church events and things like that before I became an atheist. So, yeah. But to me, I think that one of the things that kept me really engaged, and there are many, many things, and I don't want to say that it's definitely far from the only reason, I don't think it's even the biggest reason, but is that I was hoping to share some of the lessons that I've learned at, apparently, according to lots of people, a younger age than a lot of other people learned those lessons, like that other people's ignorance is not your burden to bear. And
it's a great line from the film.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I came up with that on the spot. I was surprised.
It seemed like you did. It speaks to your, to me anyway, it speaks to your level of experience and the things that you've had to, deal with and unpack along the way.
I'm hoping that this film can help with some social change. I think part of the reason that our society is so, fearful of things that are different is because our society has an obsession with the norm and an obsession with the pretense of perfection. And I'm hoping that maybe this film will help other people to realize that they can be themselves and be honest with themselves, and that, for me, and I struggle, I have autism, and and I'm medicated for depression and anxiety. The only medication for autism is giving in to your special interests and generally just accepting yourself. But, I'm medicated for anxiety and depression, and for me, it surprises a lot of people when I tell them that, because, it wasn't until, about a year ago that I started being medicated, or maybe even, a year and a half ago. But it happened far before, or far after the movie had been started filming. And I think part of the reason that I am such a happy person in general in life, and why, I don't let my anxiety and my depression don't take over for very long and don't take over very often, is because I'm so honest with myself and so accepting of myself. And when I discover something new about myself, though there may be an initial, no way, there's no way, oh, or I'm not like that, or that's not, I don't like that. There is very quick sort of acknowledgement of, oh yes, I am like that, yes I do like that, and then a celebration of that. And for me, I think I'm just naturally honest. From a young age, I always spoke my mind. Like I said, I could talk before I could walk. And so I think that's a big part of it, and I'm hoping that it will help other people to, learn to, express themselves, and then maybe if more people express themselves and express what they like, and that, it just happens to be different from the norm, the more people, admit that to themselves and to others and embrace it, the more people will realize that, well, I'm not alone. It's like a chain reaction, and then more people who aren't like that will be like, well, maybe that's not so different. Maybe that's not so unusual.
Michelle, you got to wonder if mental health issues, and most of us, I would say, are suffering from them in one way or another.
Yes.
Right? Family issues, relationships.
I'm sorry if I talked too long.
No, it's great. It's awesome. Lots of wisdom, lots of insight there. It's amazing stuff. I love the fact that you're naturally honest. I mean, so many of us aren't, it seems to me, right? And I think that, aren't we really looking for, authenticity and transparency? One of the themes for me, I've got about 6 interviews for Hot Docs this year, and you kind of look for those connecting dots, right? And for me, it's been one of spirit of inclusion. This idea of an embrace, or the sense of the wisdom and the warmth in relationships. As corny as that kind of sounds on a certain level,
That
there's
doesn't
so
really
much
sound corny
truth
to
in it,
me.
right?
It doesn't really sound corny to me. I mean, it can, but it did not sound corny coming from you. It sounds corny sometimes coming from one of those fake happy people, but you
I think
seem
I know
very
a few
genuine.
of those. I think I know a few of those fake happy people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came in on the train this morning from outside of the city.
Oh, yes. Well, some of those people might have been genuinely happy because trains are really awesome, so.
There you go. Do you collect those as well?
I do.
I
You
thought
can
so.
see them in the film. I have quite a collection of little wooden trains, and particularly Thomas the Tank Engine characters. Not Thomas the Train, as the audio describer called him. He's not a train, he's a locomotive/engine. That would be like pulling up the hood of your car and pointing at the engine and going, look, it's a car.
We need to clarify
We
those
need to clarify
distinctions.
that.
Jeff, why 6
Teach
years?
people.
Why did this project take 6 years? Is it the kind of film that you could have done in 14 months if you'd had a bigger budget or more people, or was there an intention behind that decision?
Well, I can guarantee you there was no intention to go six years, but it happened organically because Garrett, first of all, so much of what you're talking about that comes across in the film is due to Garrett earning the trust and the love of this wonderful character and bringing strong women into the production as well who can create that sort of intimacy and that trust with Michelle. Once you open that door, as you've already noticed, it just starts flowing and flowing and flowing, and it seems like, when can we stop? There's more coming, there's more coming. But Garrett would tell you that the idea was originally to end the film at graduation of Perkins School for the Blind. He was shooting her during her school, and we thought the graduation would be the end. But what we learned at that time was that that's really where her story begins, because there's something called the cliff, where kids graduate from the school. They don't have any opportunities in the world, so they just fall off a cliff and end up in limbo. And that happened to Michelle.
My name for it is the escalator to nowhere,
The
which is the
escalator to
Simpsons
nowhere.
reference
Yeah.
from the episode
And-
Marge versus the Monorail.
And so suddenly there was this ennui, in Michelle's life, and this bright, incredibly promising young woman was, as she says in the film, stuck in a room for a year. So this was a group decision by everybody. It's like, we can't stop now. This is the most interesting part. This is the big story. And then it just went on and it went on, and then you do have the common problems of filmmaking, which is we're out of money. We have to get more money. How do we shoot the next day? And it just keeps going. But mostly, I would say her life was just very interesting. It kept getting interesting. It was difficult to club this thing off and make it stop.
I think the cliff, or as I call it, escalator to nowhere, I think only was like half of it. And this just occurred to me now, though I've probably been thinking it subconsciously. But Perkins was in some ways holding me back. And by that I don't mean they were keeping me from, fully sort of being like, like in any sort of like academic way. I mean, like, there are things in the movie that I do that I would never be able to do at Perkins. I would never be able to leave Perkins with a bag full of random leather unmentionables and say, I'm going to a party, bye. So that, that's just one thing.
There's a scene with, I think, one of your former teachers,
Yes.
or care providers,
Yes,
where you,
he's a teacher.
which frankly was a tad bit uncomfortable for me, even
Oof.
as a viewer, which I know was intentional, but that you challenged her and said, "Hang on a minute here. Maybe it might be worth looking outside of your structure, outside of the framework that says
you're
this
talking
is."
about Lori. When I said that I wasn't able to do kink things at Perkins, I thought you were talking about my situation with Jeff, and I was like, I'm surprised that made you uncomfortable. It seemed like he seemed really cool about it.
No, I mean
Lori.
yes.
Exactly.
When
That
about
scene makes
you're
a
not
lot of
going to be
people
able to do
uncomfortable.
X, Y, and Z because of your
It's
limitations.
the autism
because of-
speaking.
Exactly.
So nothing
yeah.
you say
That's right.
offends me, which basically means nothing you say has no weight. And it's really interesting hearing the responses from different audiences. There are some audiences where it's mostly stunned silence, and I think it has to do with the fact that you need just one person to boo or scoff, and then you get a chain reaction, because then people feel like it's okay for them to boo or scoff. And in Florida and in Boston and other places, we got those those great reactions. And in some ways, that is my favorite scene in the film. And even though it is uncomfortable.
That's not surprising to me. Because you are somebody who pushes back, right?
I do push back, and I'll tell you why it's one of my favorite scenes in the film and why it actually caused some closure for me. It's my favorite scene, or at least in some ways, it's one of my favorite scenes in the film, is because it shows people that there are not two types of people who work with people with disabilities, the angels and the devils. You know, people have this idea that you're either, you know, an angel and oh my goodness, you must, you know, you're so wonderful for working with people with disabilities and you know, so, you know, inspirational and things like that. Or you're like a creepy person who's on a power trip or wants to molest people with like very little power. You know, there's not those two. You know, those are the two extremes. There's also people who think that they're doing good and, you know, clearly she didn't think she was being mean or she wouldn't have said it in front of the camera. She knew there was a camera there.
Well, this is the way this woman dealt with people like you,
yes.
right? And I say that in a way that...
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly, right? So for her, it's either or, I think.
Yep.
Right? There was a certain way to heal someone like you. Forgive me for saying that, but you know what I'm saying,
Oh,
right?
I know what you mean. I'm scoffing at
Yeah.
the idea, not
But
at what you're saying.
We do it all the time, though,
Yes.
right? We do it all
Yes.
the time, not just with other people, but we do it with ideas.
Yes.
Seems to me, I mean, I was talking to somebody recently about, I think you'll appreciate this, Michelle, but talking to somebody about our school system, and his phrase was, oh, it's broken 5 ways from sideways. I think he meant Sundays, maybe? I'm not sure. But anyway, and I kind of wanted to applaud, you know, and my kids are young enough that they're going through this system. And I remember my daughter coming home and talking, she was in kindergarten, they were teaching her mathematics. I was actually pissed off. Because I actually think some of our pedagogy has to do with what you're talking about right now, Michelle. This idea that you can't see people for more than just, I guess, the sum of their parts, right? You're an equation, you're a problem to be solved, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think it's a really, I mean, there's so many things going on in this film. That's why this is a great film about you. I learned so much about you, but it raises so many questions about so many other things, which is marvelous.
One of the things that I recently I came up with randomly when I was just having one of my long thinks. I was like pacing around in circles, which is it's my thinking stem. It's what I do when I think. Is I walk around in circles. It's a form of stimming, and I thought that it's not that people are more than the sum of their parts, because I'm a naturalist. I believe that I don't believe that people have souls necessarily. I think we have really amazing brains, and even though love is just, you know, chemicals in our brain, that doesn't mean it's not amazing. And so I thought, it's not that people are more than the sum of their parts, it's that so many people gloss over and just don't see so many of the parts, even if we're, you know, even if we have practically like a neon sign over our head that says some of our parts that people don't see. You know, I'm this, I'm that, I like this, I like that, I'm not this, you know, and people, you know, they will selectively see certain parts of you and not others. Like Laurie Spencer, she did not see how resourceful I am and how when I don't know how to do something, when I can't see something, I am really good at finding someone and having them help me. And I know that I have to find a specific person, because if I just say, can you please help me, and look around the room, it has a bystander effect. Everyone will think someone else is going to do it. And I understand those concepts better than most people I know who have vision do, and don't have any disabilities, because they don't have to deal with that on an everyday basis.
So I want to know if you listen better than I do. Are you a better listener? I wonder if you make more, you know, keen observations than most of us. You're a poet.
Is this your way of saying I'm talking over you?
That's right. Yeah.
Sorry.
I can't get a word in edgewise here, for crying out loud. What kind of interview is this?
I'm interviewing you.
That's right.
What's your favorite color?
Yes. Well, I don't have one.
Mine's blue.
Blue, nice. Purple's probably mine.
I like purple too. I like it when I meet a man who's not afraid to say his favorite color is purple.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Maybe red. I do like red. Yeah,
Red's nice
purple,
too. It
yeah.
doesn't look too good on me, but I like red as a color.
I don't wear a lot of red. My kids do, though. Yeah, I wonder. I guess what's connected to that question is, was there ever a time you were told you were disabled, right?
Oh yeah.
Was there a time for you where you decided, or you kind of came to the realization, this isn't really a disability in my world. This is you're so. This is about self-actualization. This is about self-awareness, this film, and you're coming of age and all these things. We all are. I'm 50. I'm still coming of age.
You're not 50.
I am.
You
I
sound
know.
so
Isn't that
young.
ridiculous? And I like purple. I mean, it's insane, right?
Love it.
Yeah.
Keeps you young.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I just wondered, there's a poet in you, right?
Oh, thank you.
And I think all poetry is about noticing the little things. Does that make sense?
Yes. There have been times in my life where I have ranted about something that was negative about me. The fact that I used to be a horrible procrastinator, and in some ways I still am, because I'm out of practice on not procrastinating because I'm not in school anymore. So it's, it naturally just sort of ebbs back into my life.
Trying to think about a joke for procrastination, and I can't come up with them. I'm sorry.
You'll think of it later?
Yeah, I'll think of it later. Yeah.
That's funny. But anyway, I was saying, I get the assignment, and then I think, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow is the day that I have it due. And then I wait until the very last minute at night to do it. And then I get so tired that I decide to go to sleep. So I wake up the next morning, and instead of going and doing it, I go downstairs and hang out with my friends and eat breakfast. And then I wait until break time, and I try to do it during break time, but instead I hang out with my friends in the break room. So then I try to convince one of my teachers to let me do it in his class. And then I get detention, but at least I get it done. And my teacher was like, that's amazing, because she thought it was poetry. I was
Right.
just talking about
Right.
things that bothered me. And so I get what you're
Talking,
saying.
exploring, making observations, right?
But for me, when you're saying, if I've been told that I'm disabled and didn't think that was true, I think it's more complicated than that. I do think that I am disabled, that I have disabilities, but I don't think I am inable
Right.
or
No, that's
unabled.
good. Yeah.
I am.
Or that you're less than.
That I'm less than,
Yeah.
exactly. I definitely, I have handicaps. That's just a true. But one of them, and that being the autism, which is definitely, disputable in some ways, because I feel like the disability comes from more of the outside than the inside. It comes from more than how the majority of people's brains work than it does how my brain works. Because my brain works differently. It doesn't work worse. Just like anyone else, I'm better at some things and worse at other things. It's just that, my brain works a little differently. It makes different kinds of connections and doesn't make other connections that might be obvious to someone who's neurotypical. And I think neurodiversity is very important. But when it
It's a
comes
great
to
phrase. I've never heard that phrase before. Neurodiversity. I
but
love it.
But the thing that I'm definitely able to say, oh yes, this is a disability, indisputably, is my blindness. And it's a conversation I have with people a lot, which is, if they said that, and of course, there is not such a thing, because it's the way your brain works. It's not a specific part of your brain that they can just cut out. But if there was a cure for autism, I would never take it. But if there was a cure for my blindness, I would take it in a heartbeat. And it's not because I'm unhappy. It's because I want, there are some times where I am bummed out and jealous because I'm like, I can't play that video game that I want to be able to play, or whatever. But as a general rule, it's more like a bummer and an inconvenience than anything I'm really depressed about. But with my autism, I genuinely, and I say this a lot, which is that the cure for autism is acceptance, and accepting of yourself,
Right. It's
and
good.
surrounding yourself with people who accept you.
That's great.
Because your autism's still going to be there, but it's not going to be seen as a problem as much.
Well, I think in a way what I was trying to get at too about the whole poetry thing is I don't think any of us are really good listeners, actually. We could all do better. And I think when it comes to people and others who are a little different than us, as you guys call them, outcasts. I don't know if you actually referred to that in the film, but I think it's it's on the poster, isn't it? Yeah. the whole notion that we see others potentially as outcasts is kind of problematic for me. You know, this sense of other and what that means. And so I work in international development, so I'm around others all the time. And I've said this before on podcasts, if my students refer to them or they or those people, they'll lose marks. Like, let's talk about Cambodians, let's talk about Mongolians or Malawians, right? These are real, you know, human beings.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to jump into and say my experience, Michelle, is a very good listener because she's always looking for a way that she can connect with somebody and ask. Just like she asked you, what's your favorite color? Do you have a cat? Do you have, what's your favorite
didn't
TV
ask
show?
if you have a cat.
Yeah, but that's coming up probably. Because that is one
Do you
of
have a
the
cat?
real messages of the film.
We have two gerbils.
Oh, a little gerbil. I don't know. I don't know what it is. That's like a thing that I say sometimes. Like when I see a gerbil, I'll be like, "Oh, look, a little gerbil." I
Well,
don't know
ours, we
where that
have
came from.
Lily and Pepper.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
we-
so adorable.
Had them about 6 weeks.
My
Jordan,
cat's name is Catherine, and she's my favorite character in the movie.
I'm not sure the gerbils would last too long around your cat. That's the sense
No,
I have.
no, yeah. I think that keeping them
Yeah.
apart is probably a good idea.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
Jordan, can we talk a little bit about how the film has been made through your eyes? You know, right from the opening scene with the, I mean, I love the wooden match, by the way, very beautiful, tactile, and I'm not sure where that decision was made in the writing, but the darkness, the contrast, and then from then on in, there's some pretty intentional choices, it seems to me, about trying to give us a better sense for what it's like to live in you know, in Michelle's world.
Yes, that was very intentional, and definitely our goal was to, one, try to tell a very compelling story that would feel like a narrative that you could get lost into, but then to also help create some empathy and common humanity through playing with your senses, whether that be taking them away or amplifying them, and to really try to put yourself in Michelle's shoes on some level, so you can relate to her, but really feel, to try to create sort of this understanding that we are all people. We're
Yes.
all one.
It's something I say a lot, which is we're all the same, which is awesome, but we're also all different, which is also awesome.
It's true. I mean, for me of late, a real theme, and some of it's in some of the philosophy that I've even been reading of late. But this idea of similarity through difference. We absolutely have to acknowledge the differences, without a doubt.
You're different.
You know?
You're different, just like everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful way of putting it. But yet there's this, we've got to get on the same page. I mean, again, as sort of, you know, out there in 60-ish is this may sound, you know, hippie-like and so on, this getting, wow, gee, can we all get along?
Yes.
But
I
we
hope we can.
Exactly. I mean, if this isn't the hope so world that we're working for, and it seems to me, which is what I love about the film, and so much that I love about documentary film as a whole, is this idea that, you know, that is what we're reaching for, right? Yes, this is the current state of affairs, but really there's a whole lot more, again, going on here than meets the eye, which is what the film is so nuanced and layered, and you're a complicated soul.
I'm a
But-
complicated brain. Excuse me.
There you go.
Check your
Sorry,
privilege.
yes.
I'm just kidding.
Complicated brain. There you go. Yes.
But there's a couple things I wanted to make sure I said before we end this. Not
Sadly, we probably have to wrap it up. We're going to have an
Yeah.
angry publicist coming through that door any
But
moment now.
but there are two things, and one
Yeah,
is I
please.
think the use of the phrase "not your average outcast" is actually sort of poking fun at the idea of, you know, not your average person and not you know, like and outcasts, because like not your average outcast is kind of like an oxymoron almost, or like a, you know, it's like saying, you know, you're an outcast amongst the outcasts almost. And I think honestly it's sort of played in sort of a tongue-in-cheek way, and it's almost sort of poking fun at the people who use the term outcast as a way of you know, dividing people. That's how I saw it. The first
Absolutely.
time I saw that phrase, I giggled. And the other thing is, the reason that the scene with Laurie Spencer led me to closure was because I realized it's not me, it's her. It's not that what I'm doing doesn't make her think I'm mature. It's that the way I am, the way I was born will never make her see me as like a true, real adult. I will always be the other. And even though I say that in that actual scene, even though I am articulating myself better than I think I normally do on a good day, because I've been preparing for that for months because I knew I was going to go and do it, and I didn't want to start crying because I hate confronting people who I know think they're doing good.
Yep.
But I luckily I've gotten a little bit better at it now.
Well,
but
you really...
it made me leave and go, it's not me. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's not that, everyone in that room thought, oh, she's demanding a cane. It's that Lori can't see past my disabilities, which is really a tragedy because she works with people with disabilities, and I know that there are some ways when I was a kid that she discouraged me, but luckily I've shaken that off. And I hope that her other students, if they get discouraged by her, will shake it off when they grow up and realize her short-sightedness.
Well, it's just a beautiful metaphor too for the sort of the bigger picture of pushing back against the system almost. There's lots of us, there's lots of outcasts. We're all outcasts for crying out loud, right? I mean, I think this is back to the whole same page thing. Don't we all? I mean, we all suffer from mental health issues of one kind or another. It seems to me, and I think what's beautiful again about the film is that wasn't it a looking into what the word beauty meant? Wasn't that kind of the impetus for some of this?
I don't know how he looked at me and made that connection. But
And so are you working on your comedy routine? Are you heading to LA anytime soon?
We might be heading to LA, but that's mostly because if there's a film festival there.
Right. Doesn't have anything to do with your new comedy career ahead of you?
Comedy, I've always been a joke teller. And I always enjoy it when I can get in front of a microphone and instead of just doing like karaoke or singing a song or hosting something or something where I have a specific set of things I'm supposed to say / sing, and I can just riff for a while. I can just, tell jokes and stories about my family.
Well, there's a scene in the film where there's like an open mic scene. And I'm not quite
at
sure.
Pride.
There you go, that's what it is. And I actually had that sense that you so handled the room well, and you could easily take on a full room without too much trouble.
That's why she's going to every film festival.
Good for you. So, Jeff, can you tell me, let's come full circle. 6 years. Is there a sense that you wish as a filmmaker, as a producer, and maybe this question's for you too, Jordan, I wish Garrett was here, that you could keep the camera rolling? I mean, and I've said that you could pretty much, of late, in the last 2 years of interviewing a lot of documentarians, I think you could parachute anywhere into the world, into a community with a camera, and make a doc film. And anyway, couple thoughts there.
Because people are fascinating, and unfortunately, everyone seems to be too wrapped up in their own world, and I'm definitely guilty of this as well. Too wrapped up in their own world to see how interesting other people are. There's a term, and I think it's in German or French or something, that basically means that moment where you look around and realize everyone is as complex and flawed as you are.
That's exactly what you mean by parachuting in somewhere. If you parachute into a region where people don't know those people, you're going to discover similarities and differences that can make a story. However, you only encounter people like Michelle a couple times in your life. Right.
Oh my goodness!
We're at this.
Give that man a chocolate bar.
He has his own.
That's right.
I'm just bucking for another snuggle after this interview. I want another hug.
Well, you never have to worry about that. I am a snuggle machine.
Yeah, but we, especially on this festival tour, getting to hear Michelle speak like this, we all feel like, don't we wish the camera was still going? We could just do, best and most beautiful things too. Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo.
We love it. We love it. And we're very happy with the way the film is, but Michelle's going to be an interesting story for the rest of her life.
And I just wanted to add to that, I think the struggle goes on, like the larger message. And I hope that we will make some, we'll chip away at that a little bit, but I think it's going to be a long road. And with this statistic of over 75% unemployment rate for people who are blind or have vision impairments, that's something that's going to take a very long time to chip away at, and then changing the way we view others and all that. That's an ongoing process. So yeah, we could never end.
It's an ongoing battle, but it's a battle that I'm happy to fight. And Jeff, you were saying you wish there could be a second movie. Well, I don't know about a second movie, but I'm pretty sure I'm enough of a freak to get a reality show on TLC.
I think just to wrap it up here, sadly, and maybe at some point down the road we could do a part two. One of the amazing things about doing these podcasts and being able to interview people like you guys and is to touch, and just even briefly, is into somebody else's life and sort of step into somebody else's story. And for me, it's remarkable, and it's a real joy for me, honestly. But it's also a real frustration, because I feel like, for crying out loud, we barely scratched the surface here, right? We need the cameras on, and this should be rolling, or we should have like a hall of people here as we unpack some of this stuff together. It's remarkable how many sort of touch points and things that there are.
This room is huge. We could get some folding chairs in here and
absolutely.
turn it into a hall.
Yeah. So what is next with the film? Wide release into everyone's home.
We hope.
Yes, that is the plan. We just premiered the film this March at South by Southwest, and then we took it to Florida, Dallas, here at Hot Docs, Boston. And then we're going to Gina Davis's film festival in Bentonville, Arkansas. So we have a year of wonderful festival releases ahead to bring it to as many cities and communities as we can on that platform, and then in the beginning of 2017, a much wider release. So even though it's been 6 years of actual production and we're very happy with the way the film turned out, the real work of having people see and meet Michelle and understand the messages behind the film are just starting. Like Jordan said, we have a long way still to go just to keep the conversations going. But you can find out more at bestandmostbeautifulthings.com and follow our journey.
Nice. I was just about to do the same for you, and we'll put links on the site, but that's bestandmostbeautifulthings.com, and I've been able to hang out with some of the best and most beautiful things here today.
You're not the first person to make that joke, but it'll always be funny and adorable.
There you go. I like it when I'm not referred to as being adorable too often.
Well, you are so adorable.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys, for your transparency and authenticity for the film. It's beautiful, it's compelling and provocative and all kinds of wonderful things. So thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we mention our screening dates?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, while we're here in Toronto, we are screening Best and Most Beautiful Things Wednesday. That's tomorrow, right? I'm getting my days together. Wednesday at Scotiabank Theatre 4. That's at 8:45 p.m. And then again on Friday, May 6th at 7 p.m. at the Tiff Bell Lightbox 3. And Saturday, May 7th at Tiff Bell Lightbox 1. That's at 10 a.m. We'd love to see you.
Thanks again, guys.